I hope that in 10 minutes I'm going to convince you that if you tweak your nonverbal behaviors in really pretty easy and simple ways for a short period of time, it's going to make you feel more powerful through physiological changes in your body. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. So here are some examples of power poses. So what I want you to note about these is that they are all very open and expansive. So those are the two sort of criteria that determine whether it's a power pose, whether you're open and you're expanding your body. All of these, I think, are examples of power posing reflecting power that you already have or a victory that you feel. So people do this, I mean, this is very common after victories. They put their arms up, you know, or when you're generally feeling powerful, you're more likely to do something like this. You feel open, you feel disinhibited. So it reflects power. It's also used to communicate power. So I'm sure that you have the LBJ treatment up at the top there. So again, it's making yourself bigger, getting in other people's space, reaching out. So it's used to reflect power and to communicate power. And this is true not just for humans, but also for non-human animals. This is just one example, but you have primates who will bulge their chests to make themselves bigger. The peacock fanning his tail feathers. You have even cats will idle sideways and raise their back to make themselves look bigger. So this is common across both human and non-human animals. Now, on the other hand, powerlessness is reflected and communicated through these contractive closed postures. So this is a very sad powerless person, but this is an example. And I mean, it really is just everyday things that you do, like crossing your arms, also touching your face and touching your neck. This is really communicates powerlessness. Anything that you do that makes you smaller and hunching your shoulders. This is about powerlessness. It reflects it and it reinforces it. So we know already that power causes power posing. So when you possess power, whether it's short-term or long-term, or when you're communicating power, you do things like this. You power pose. You do the Wonder Woman pose. But what we wanted to know was whether you could fake it till you make it. So let me tell you what we did in this study. So first, people come into the lab. So let's take this female participant. And we first take a saliva sample, and that's our time 1 hormone sample. It's very easy. They just spit into a little vial. They then, for 2 minutes, take on 2 high power poses. So 1 minute each. They're just asked to sit in these certain positions. They don't look at pictures because we don't want to prime them with a concept of power. We describe to them how to sit. This is just one example of a high power pose. 2 minutes. After that, they fill out some questionnaires, we ask them how powerful they feel, and we also give them an opportunity to gamble. Because when people feel powerful, they're much more risk tolerant. And this is a gamble where they are endowed with $2, and they can roll a die and have a 50-50 chance of increasing that to $4. So that's our risk tolerance measure. And then we take, after about 17 minutes, which is the right amount of time between these time 1 and time 2 samples, we take another hormone sample because we want to know what their baseline levels are. Half of their participants are randomly assigned to that. Half of them are randomly assigned to this condition. And in this condition, they take on 2 low power poses instead. Same thing. This is what we find on risk tolerance. We find that the high power posers are significantly more likely to take the gamble. But what's more interesting to us is this. So this is their change in testosterone and cortisol. 2 minutes in a high power pose makes your testosterone rise significantly and your cortisol drop significantly. 2 minutes in a low power pose does the opposite. 2 minutes. And I just want to say, this is in a room alone. So they're not getting feedback. It's not like they're standing like this and people are like, wow, she's really powerful. That's not what's happening. They're not getting that feedback and going, oh, I must be powerful. Like, this is really reinforcing. They're sitting alone in a room. So what we wanted to show next was that just doing this before you go into a room does change your performance in a significant way. Not only does it change your hormones, but it actually makes you perform better. So in the second study, We again have the high and low power poses, 2 minutes each, and this is what happens this time. You go in, you do these power poses, and then we subject you to what's called the Trier social stress test. And this is something that's used in the lab to really increase people's cortisol, and I'll tell you what's stressful about it. You are told you have 5 minutes to write a speech. That's stressful. And the speech is about your dream job, and you are supposed to convince 2 evaluators why you are suited for this dream job, but you cannot lie or misrepresent yourself. These 2 evaluators are going to be evaluating you with clipboards in real time as you give this speech, and you're going to be filmed, and then other people will evaluate you later. Okay, so wait, so that's stressful because we know that people are terrified of public speaking. I'm actually terrified right now, but I'm not anymore, but I used to be. But so what happens though, that's not the most stressful thing. What's most stressful about it is that these 2 evaluators are trained to sit here like this. No nonverbal feedback, totally neutral expression, no nodding, no movement, no shows of approval or even disapproval. Only they're locked onto you, they're watching you, they're not spacing out, and they're giving you no nonverbals. This is very stressful. Okay, so we do again 2 low power poses or high power poses before this job interview where people are basically saying you stink, you know, with their nonverbals. And again, they're not in these poses while they're in the job interview. They do them before. What we find is this. We then take these videos, have 2 coders who are hypothesis and condition blind, code them on a variety of nonverbals, all kinds of performance measures, and we just find these whopping effects. When you do this 2 minutes before and you go in, these hypothesis blind coders are like, hire her. And when you do this, they say, no way, don't hire this person. So here are the takeaways. First, in practice, prepare in advance only if it's for a few minutes. Okay, so what do people do before they go into a job interview? They're sitting down, I wish I had a chair, like this, and they're looking at their iPhone. They're making themselves as small as possible. It's the last thing you want to do. Instead, go to a bathroom stall and stretch out. Like, just walk around, be moving, have your feet spread, you know, have your arms spread, be reaching out. If you're in your own office, put your feet up on the desk. No one's watching you. Do whatever you want to do. You know, the cultural and gender norms don't matter. If you have some space that's private, do that before you go into the interview, before you give the speech, before you give the pitch. 2 minutes. Second, during the interaction, you want to expand without dominating or without complimenting. So people tend to do one of 2 things. They either go in and they think they've got to own the whole room, but really what they're doing is like stealing the room. And people are like, I don't like this guy, you know? So so you want to go into that situation. If somebody has higher, say you go into a job interview and you already have lower power, you don't want to go in and try to be the most dominant person in the room. But the other thing that people do is they compliment. When they go in to somebody who has higher status, they tend to exaggerate the difference by making themselves even smaller. So I want to say don't do either of those things. Instead, go in and be as big as you can be comfortably. Square off your shoulders, stand with your feet apart. If you have to sit, try to rest your arms on the arms of the chair. That will prevent you from doing this. If you have a prop, sorry, I keep touching this. If you have a prop like a whiteboard or something, put your hand on it or the back of a chair, anything that forces you to stretch out. That's what you want to do when you're in the room without really coming across as super dominant. But here, there's a big picture takeaway that I think is particularly relevant, especially to a lot of what the fellows have been talking about in the last couple days. What other minimal manipulations can empower people? I mean, this is 2 minutes in a pose, and it leads to these outcomes for both. By the way, this is not moderated by gender. This is for women and men, and for people of different races. So what other minimal manipulations can we come up with that are going to lead people to feel more powerful, to feel more confident, to feel more engaging and warm and excited about what they're doing? And I think I'm going to stop there.